Alright, field shunt contactor, BB160, removal, disassembly, cleaning, inspection, repair, and installation adjustment, toolkit SC494-097T11E12, it's variable DC voltage supply, dry clean, solid electrical installation varnish. Warning, high voltage used in the operation of equipment do not mean unless led by the term low voltage potential low as 50 volts may cause death. Removal of the rings, braces, wristwatch, and neck chains before working around the locomotive jewelry can catch on the equipment, cause injury, make a short across the electrical circuit, and cause severe burns on an electrical shock. Open the electrical equipment cabinet door set on the battery switch to open the sets electricity. Make sure the electrical wires labeled with the number of the polarity signs tagged to disconnect the wires from the field shunt contactor assembly 5. Remove the two nut lock washers from 1 and 2 and flat washer 3 and cap screws 4. Remove the field shunt contactor assembly from 5. Disassembly, remove the cap screws, lock washer, flat washer, remove the arc chute, remove the Allen head screw, lock washer, flat washer, remove the stationary contact clip, remove the two cap screws and cover, remove the two cap screws, lock washer, flat washer, remove the stationary contact tip support, remove the Allen head screw, lock washer, flat washer, remove the movable contact tip, remove the two cap screws, lock washers, remove the shunt, disassembly, loosen the calibrating screws, and then remove the calibrating screws, and the flat washer, spacer, and calibrating screw, lock nut, slower washer, calibrating screws, and remove the cotter pin spring feet, contacts, pressure spring, remove the two cap screws and the lock washer pins and clamps of the flat washer 40, remove the contact lever in the armature, and remove the armature from the armature stop, remove the two cap screws of the lock washer, remove the armature stop, remove the cap screws, lock washer, operating coil, remove the two cap screws, lock washer, flat washer, magnet frame from the base. Cleaning, inspection, repair. The dry cleaning solvent P6080 is toxic and flammable. Wear protective goggles and gloves. Use the only well-ventilated areas. Avoid contact with skin and eyes. Do not breathe the vapors. Do not use near open flame. Excessive heat of the flash will point of 100 to 138 degrees Fahrenheit. If you become dizzy, get the fresh air and medical aid immediately. If the contact eyes made with the wash, your eyes may get medical aid immediately. Compressed air used for the cleaning purposes will not exceed 30 psi. Do not direct compressed air against the skin. Use goggles of the full face shield. Do not fully attempt to clean the stationary contact tip with a movable contact tip. Silver alloyed surfaces, the contact may become blackened and pitted and eroded, but the condition will not be hampered for the operation of the contactor. Use the dry cleaning solvent cleaning of the metal parts of the dry with the compressed air and inspect with the repair of the components of the use of the fuel. Valves, air chute, inspect the air chute, replace the place with the broken and burned 3/4 through, replace if and the burned with the closed with the screw. Do not use sandpaper or emery cloth to dress the tips. Inspect the stationary contact tip with a movable contact tip. Replace if worn with 3/32 of an inch and replace silver tips in the if silver is worn through. The cleaning, inspection, repair, and contact lever, inspect the bushings inside with the diameter worn between 32 of an inch. Replace the lever and inspect the hinge pin and replace the pin if scored and burnt. No indication of overheating, blacking should appear in these areas. These threads must be cleaned with withstand 130 pound with the torque of 5/16 of an 18 socket head screw, cap screws, with full thread and engagement. 90% of the surface must be clean at the file, but retain flatness, and the maximum diameter of the bushing is 32 thousandths of an inch. No burning, melting, and warping permitted. Shunting, inspect the braided copper, the wear of the fraying, discolorization, stiffness, replace the shunt if any of the above conditions exist. The operating coil, the multimeter, and the check oil resistance. Check the coil measure value between 3 to 4. 34.6 to 42.3 ohms. Check the oil terminals for damage. Check the coil damaged by dry installation if necessary. Installation applying with electrical insulation varnish. Replace the coil if necessary. Armature. Inspect the armature around it with the bearing edge with the uneven worn and the armature bearing edge with worn between 1/32 of an inch. Replace the armature. Inspect the armature bracket on the ends of the armature with the calibrating spring is attached. Inspect the pin over the contacting pressure with the pin if less than 1/64 of an inch of the pin and of the remaining between the hole and the end of the pin. In the armature shim, replace the shim with the portion of the armature with the magnet frame is pounded with more than halfway through the shut of the bend and up portion is more than 2/3 through. Less than 1/64 of an inch, a dimension is at the top of the hole of the armature, the worn halfway through the calibrating screw, 1/32 of an inch at any point. The magnet frame note and notch, and when in the new maximum wear of 1/16 of an inch bearing edge of over the 1/32 of an inch shim worn through 2/3 or shim pounded halfway through. The armature stop, inspection of the armature stop of the grooving, uneven wear with the armature stop of the groove were worn with 1/16 of an inch of the bearing edge of the armature. Replace the armature stop. Calibrating screw within the inspection calibration spring if cracked, and the corroded notch within the end of the hook has not lost the tension in the contacting spring. Inspects the pressure spring. Replace the spring if can crack corroded and notch on the end of the hook. Lowering the tension of the anneal is showing signs of electrical damage. Stationary contact tip. Inspect the contact support for discolorization, carved over to heave the cracks. Replace replace the contact if any of the above conditions are found. Inspect the tap of the sign of the bird or the strip of the damaged threads. Replace the contact if the tapping of the hole will not restore the threads. Cleaning, inspection, and repair. The base 32 and the inspection 32 of the soundness. Replace the base if it appears the oil soaked or cracked. 2. Paint the base with one or two of the coats with electrical insulation varnish. The assembly position the magnet on the frame base. Install the 2 flat washer, lock washer, cap screws. Position the operating coil magnet frame. Install the lock washer and cap screws. Position the armature stopper in the magnet frame. Install the 2 lock washer, cap screws, and 2 armatures in the armature stop into the flat washer, clamps, pins, and contact lever. Position the contact lever on the armature. Install the 2 lock washers and the cap screws. Install the 2 contact pressure springs on the pin contact lever and install the spring seat and the cotter pin. Connect the calibrating screws to armature stop. Install the star washer, calibrating screw, lock nut, spacer, flat washer, and calibrating screw. Tighten the calibrating screw, lock nut. Position the shunt armature stop. Install the 2 lock washers, cap screws. Position the mover and the contact's tip and the shunt of the contact lever and then install the flat washer, lock washer, allen head of the cap screw. Position the stationary contact tip of the sport on the base and install the 2 flat washers and the lock washers and the cap screws. Position the cover and installation 2 cap screws or 2 screws. Position the stationary contact tip and the stationary contact tip. 19. Install the flat washers. 12. Lock washers. 11. The allen head screws. Position the arc sheet stationary contact tip. 19. Install flat washers, lock washers, and cap screws. 6. The installation. Install the failed shunt assembly into the electrical cabinet. Install the 2 screws, the 4 flat washers, lock washers, nut, and caution incorrect connection to the terminals result in damaged stationary contact tip. Remove the contact tip and secure the arc suppression feature will be nullified. Connection electrical wires in accordance with the wire diagram. Remove the measure of the contact tips. Overall the flow and overall note the overall distance. Move the contact tip to travel the touching stationary tip when is removed. Measure the overall travel of the method 1 for the pin A, method 2 for the pin point B. The amount of the overall travel seizure required to measure the amount. The contact tips just the touching core head of the air gap switch. Shim the overall travel of the gauge A at the end of the air gap shim on it. The pin overall gauge B. The resisting against the speed pin. The spring pin, the energizing coil, inserting the wedge and holding the armature fully closed. The adjustment field contactor, the new tips with the 1032 is a status to go of 1/76 thousandths or 200 thousandths of an inch to 12/32 of an inch. The new contactor no go status of 207 thousandths. A and 240 thousandths at B, and old contract 932 says go at 160 thousandths or 180 thousandths at point B. 1332 is a no-go at 223 thousandths or 226 thousandths at point B. The low limit old contactor 732 says no-go at 130 thousandths or 140 thousandths of B. If the overall travel insufficient, check the following conditions: badly worn, burned, incorrectly tipped the base, the stationary contact tip, the overall too high, check for the following conditions: incorrect tips, worn, stop, the contact lever base, and stationary contact tips of sport, measure the tip of the brake as follows: make sure the contact armature is against the stop, and when making the measurement, otherwise reading will be false. Measure the tip of the brake of the air gap at the point of the minimum spacing when the tips are open. Tip of the brake shall be between 4/32 and 9/32 of an inch for the worn contactor, 5/32 and 18/32 of an inch from the new contactor. The adjustment, the tip breaker is not correct. Check the following conditions: warn of the bend of the contact tip, and then armature stop. Warn of the bent contactor lever. Adjust the gap between the armature stop. Measure the tip of the alignment as follows. Tip of alignment is fouls. Note the maximum allowable side-to-side measurement alignment. The contact tips at 3/32 of an inch. Check the tip of the alignment. If necessary, loosen the screws in the head of the magnet frame. Stationary contact tip to the support of the block. Move the assembly tip alignment. Properly misalignment cannot be corrected. Check the following conditions: grooving uneven wear of the armature stop. Round knife edge uneven. The armature pivot pin. The grooving uneven wear of the armature guide. Measure tip of the pressure. Measure the initial pressure of the fouls of the block armature so the contact nearly touches. Measure the pull required to just move the contact against the contact pressure spring. Check the pull of the 2 to 4 pounds. The adjustment, measure the final pressure as follows and lock the armature from the closed position. Measure the pull required to just separate the contact tips. Check the pull of the 5 to 8 inches, 5 to 8 pounds. If the measure is or not correct, check the following conditions: low initial pressure, the defective contact spring, worn spring, washers and worn stop. Low pressure, defective pressure spring, low wearance and bad worn tips. The measure and adjustment coil of the current the files use multimeter measure resistance from the coil indicator shown between 34.65 and 42.3 50th to replace its effective coil. Connect the power supply armature. Use the current increase it slowly in contactor pickups. To check the contactor pickups with the hesitation that only one motion, including the contactor wipe the current. The measure of 436,000 to 533,000 has been amper. The adjust the cap and operating screws under the proper valve and correcting the indication manually. Operate the interlocking contacts. You use the multimeter to check the resistant contacts for infinity while opening the continuity while closed.